Peace be with you. Peace be with you. This is the greeting that the risen Lord brings to his disciples, to his friends who, in front of the passion of Christ, in front of his cross, abandoned him. This is the greeting that the Lord brings to those who have been unfaithful to him. If I were to re-encounter, rejoin with a group of friends that had backstabbed me, abandoned me in the last moment when I needed them the most, and I saw them again afterwards, would my greeting to them be peace? Or would it not be resentment? Would it not be holding them accountable? Would it not be not even wanting to greet them? And yet the Lord comes to his disciples and says, peace be with you. And he says to me today, peace. He says to you, peace. And he will have said already, the peace I give you is not the peace the world gives. Because the peace the world gives is always a ceasefire. It's always an agreement to stop arguing. But peace is something else. Peace is the fulfillment of a promise that everything is where it's meant to be. Jesus comes and says to you, peace be with you. Says to the disciples, look, it is I, myself. Look at me. See my hands and my feet. Look at my side. Look at my body. Because I am not a ghost. Because I am alive. I'm not alive in your emotions. I'm not alive in your thoughts, in your memories. I am truly I, myself. This is the same body that you saw scourged. This is the same body that you saw crowned with thorns. This is the same body that you saw stripped, that you saw carrying the cross. The same body that you saw nailed to the cross. The same body that gave up its spirit. This is me, I, myself. This body, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, crucified, that was dead and buried. That body is now alive. I am alive. And the proof that it is I, myself, is that I am not ashamed of anything that I have undergone. Therefore, look at my wounds. Look at the holes in my hands and my feet. These are the signs that it is I. These are the signs of what I have endured for you. But I have endured it for you because it is you who have abandoned me. It is you who have rejected me. It is you who have nailed me to the cross. Look at my wounds and look at what you've done. And as you look at it, hear the words, peace be with you. Jesus does not cancel the suffering. Jesus does not make the wounds go away. They are there. The sign of our sin, the sign of our abandonment, which now have become the sign of his mercy. The wounds have been glorified. This is what Peter said in today's first reading. This Jesus whom you put to death, the righteous one, the author of life, that you put to death, God has glorified him. He has not made everything else go away. He has given this man, who is God himself, has given him a new kind of life. One that has passed through our life, who has passed through our suffering, who has taken upon himself our wounds, and has entered into our death to be able to destroy it from within and to give that death and that suffering a new meaning. To make in that which previously was a sign of curse to turn it into a sign of love. This, my brothers and sisters, is wonderful news. This is the good news of Easter, that the Lord is not ashamed of us. St. Peter said in today's first reading, I understand, I know that you acted out of ignorance. Is he not echoing the words of Jesus himself on the cross? Father, forgive them. They don't know what they are doing. I know that you acted out of ignorance. I know that you act out of ignorance every time in front of your reality, in front of your situation, in front of a struggle or a suffering. I know that it is out of ignorance that you look for another way. I know that you're looking for your own happiness and rejecting me, and you don't know why. Why am I doing that? Why am I today enslaved to my own mentality of looking for life in many things, looking for life in my own pleasure, in my own comfort, looking for life in lying, in pretending in front of others, in my reputation, trying to escape my loneliness? Why? Because I myself am wounded. I have been wounded with a deadly wound, and I am bleeding, and I am dying. And every moment that passes, it is a moment closer to death, because this wound has been inflicted to me by an enemy who has stolen from me the divine life. And that wound, those wounds that we carry because of our history, the wounds that you carry because when you were younger something happened to you, the wounds you carry because you felt abandoned, the wounds you carried because you had a failed relationship, the wounds we carry because of the sins of others. Those wounds today are leading us into a search for happiness that never happens. We never find. Those wounds have made us into these men and these women who act out of ignorance. And we ask the Lord, perhaps, make it go away. Let me get over this thing. Let me get on. Or maybe perhaps deep in our hearts we question God. Why did you let this happen? Why did you give me this father? Why did you give me this husband? Why did you give me this sickness, these children? Why? Looking for an answer, and oftentimes we don't find it. The only answer we can give is that everything happens for a reason. But what reason is there? We still cannot find it. And these wounds we carry, which make us suffer, which give us pain, which make us sad and lose joy and hope. These wounds which have brought Christ to the cross, He has glorified them. They are not a sign of the abandonment of God. They have become a sign of His love and mercy. It is I, myself, a son of Adam like you. I, a man, flesh and bone, who have entered into your suffering to give it a new meaning. And what is the meaning? That the love of God is more powerful than death. That the love of God has the power to restore everything. That even if I carry in myself many wounds of my own sins and the sins of others, even if I carry in my body and in my spirit these wounds, He has the power to glorify them. And I too, like the disciples, can become a witness to the resurrection. Not simply because we have seen the Lord, but because He has the power today to raise us from our situation, to give us a new meaning. As the gospel said today, He has the power to open our minds, to understand our life in a new way. Brothers and sisters, today the Lord comes and enters into the midst of this assembly, of this congregation. He enters and says to you, peace. I give you a new life. Today He says to you, touch me, touch these wounds that are the sign of my love. And you can touch His body, His love, as we receive Him in the Holy Eucharist, that we may become like Him, glorified. Yes, one day in the glory of heaven, but even today, to have our hearts and our minds open to see the goodness of God, even in the evil of the cross and of the wounds. This is the peace He brings us. This is the peace He wants us to enter into, which He makes of it a free gift for us in His own body and blood.